Here's something you might not have noticed. The voice narrating this video is not me sitting at the microphone right now. It is a clone of my voice, generated from the script by a computer. I recorded a few minutes of myself once, and now a model can read anything I write in something very close to how I actually sound. And I know the moment I say that, half of you feel a little uneasy. Good. That reaction is worth taking seriously, and we are going to talk about it. In this video, I am going to show you exactly how I made my voice clone, what it gets right, what it still gets wrong, and the consent question that I think matters more than any of the technical stuff. Because this is a tool that can be used really well or really badly, and the difference is entirely in how you use it. I have probably thought about this one more than anything else on the channel, so let me give you the honest, full version, not the hype. Why a clone beats just recording every time. Let me start with why I even bother. Because the obvious question is just record yourself. And for one video, sure, recording is fine. But I publish consistently, and recording your own narration over and over has three problems that a clone quietly solves. The first is consistency. My real voice changes day to day. I get tired, I get a cold, the room sounds different, my energy is higher in the morning than at night. The clone sounds exactly the same in every video, which makes the channel feel coherent. The second is speed. A 12-minute narration takes me well under a minute to generate, versus the better part of an hour to record cleanly and edit out every stumble and breath. The third is editing. When I change one sentence in the script, I regenerate that line in seconds. With a real recording, fixing one word means setting up the microphone again and trying to match my old tone. The clone makes the script the single source of truth, and everything flows from there. How I actually made mine. So how do you make one? It is genuinely simpler than people expect, and that is part of what makes the ethics matter. I recorded a few minutes of myself reading, clearly in a quiet room, with decent but not fancy gear. That recording becomes a reference the model uses to capture the character of my voice, the timbre, the rhythm, the way I land certain sounds. From then on, I do not record anything. I send the model my script as plain text, I point it at my voice reference, and it returns an audio file of that text spoken in my voice. That is the whole loop. The thing that surprises people is how little audio it actually needs. We are not talking about hours in a studio. A few clean minutes is enough to get something most listeners will never question, which is exactly why this is powerful and exactly why it deserves care. And how we got to just a few minutes of audio. It is worth pausing on how recent all of this is, because it reframes everything. Not long ago, making a convincing synthetic voice meant hours and hours of studio recording, a real budget, and a team of people. It was the kind of thing only a film studio or a game studio would ever bother with. Then the models got dramatically better at doing more with less, and the amount of audio they needed quietly collapsed, from hours to minutes to in some cases just seconds. That collapse is the whole story here. It is why a single person at home can now do what used to take a studio. And it is also exactly why the ethics suddenly matter to everyone, instead of only to a handful of professionals. When something this powerful gets this easy this fast, the rules we carry around in our heads have to catch up in a hurry, because the technical barrier that used to quietly prevent misuse is simply gone now. What it nails and what still sounds off. Let me be honest about quality, because the hype around this stuff is exhausting. What the clone nails is the overall sound. The timbre is right, the general rhythm is right, and on a normal sentence, it is genuinely hard to tell. For narration over B-roll, where nobody is staring at a face, it clears the bar easily. But it is not perfect, and I want to be straight about where it falls down. It occasionally puts the emphasis on the wrong word, stressing a word I would have glided over. It does not always breathe like a person, so a very long sentence can feel slightly relentless, and it has no real emotion. It cannot do genuine excitement or a knowing pause the way I could if I were performing. So the trick is to write for it. I keep sentences a sensible length. I phrase things plainly, and I lean on the script and the visuals to carry the energy. Instead of expecting the voice to act. Used that way, the seams basically disappear. Where I use it, and where I would not, let me also be clear about where this actually fits and where it does not, because that matters as much as how it works. For faceless narration laid over visuals, which is most of what I make, the clone is a genuinely great fit. Nobody is reading my lips. The energy comes from the writing and the pictures, and sounding consistent across dozens of videos is worth a lot. But I would not use a clone for something deeply personal, a heartfelt message to someone I care about, a moment that is meant to carry real emotion. Those should be my actual voice in the actual moment, because the entire value is that they are real. And I would not use it to fake a live, off-the-cuff reaction, because that would be quietly lying about what the thing even is. The clone is a production tool for narration, not a stand-in for genuine human presence, and knowing exactly where that difference falls is a big part of using it well. Keeping the script, the captions, and the audio in sync. Here is a technical detail that matters more than it sounds. Because the spoken audio is generated directly from my script, the script is the exact truth of what is said, word for word. That turns out to be a quiet superpower. My captions are pulled from the same script text, not from listening to the audio and guessing, so they are always spelled correctly, even for an odd technical term that speech recognition would mangle. And my visuals are timed by matching phrases in that same script to where they land in the audio. So one document, the script, drives the voice, the captions, and the timing of every picture. When everything traces back to a single source of truth, a whole category of small, annoying errors just never happens. That is the part one did not expect to love, and now I would not give it up. The part everyone should actually sit with. Consent. Now the part that matters most, and the reason I made this video instead of just quietly using the tool. This is my voice. I recorded it myself, I chose to clone it, and it speaks only on my own channel, saying things I wrote and approve of. That is the entire ethical foundation. And it is not a small detail. It is the whole thing. The exact same technology, pointed at a few minutes of someone else's audio, can make them appear to say things they never said. That is not a clever use case. That is impersonation. And depending on what you do with it, it is fraud, or worse. The technology genuinely does not care whose voice you feed it. It has no conscience. The entire responsibility sits with the person at the keyboard. And pretending otherwise because the tool makes it easy is a cop-out. So I will say it plainly. Clone your own voice with your own consent, and do not ever clone someone else's without theirs. That line is not complicated, and it does not move. The enensim foids, the nonsense not the economindes meaber. Now stam ended computed. The stam pioneer in stam printlearning. Getting clear, informed permission from someone, and cloning theirs for an agreed purpose is fine. That is just how professional voice work is already heading. What is not fine is taking a public figure's voice, or a friend's voice, or anyone's voice from a video online, and generating speech they never agreed to. It does not matter that the audio is easy to find. Being able to grab it is not the same as being allowed to use it. And there is a softer line too, around disclosure. I am telling you right now that this is a clone, because I would rather you know than feel tricked later. You do not have to narrate a disclaimer over every video, but if someone asks, the honest answer matters. The rule I hold myself to is simple. Would the person whose voice this is be comfortable with exactly what I am doing? If the answer is not a clear yes, I do not do it. The question I get asked most, whenever I talk about this, someone asks me the same thing. Is this not going to put voice actors out of work? And is it not a little bit creepy? Those are fair questions, and I am not going to wave them away. On the creepy part, I actually think the discomfort is healthy, and you should hold on to it. The day this feels completely normal is the day people stop being careful. And careful is exactly what this technology still needs from everyone using it. On the work part, I would just say that the tool is not a verdict on its own. How it lands in the world depends entirely on how people choose to use it and on what we collectively decide is acceptable. I am not interested in pretending those questions do not exist. I am interested in using the tool in a way I can defend out loud, on my own voice, on my own channel, and in being honest with you about exactly what it is. That is the most I can really promise, and I think it is the right bar to hold. Sitinsin kimpitin pilidan of pueh pititintis, fembishtan notice. If you do want to try cloning your own voice, here is what actually helps. Record your reference clean. A quiet room and a decent microphone matter far more than expensive gear, so kill the echo and the background hum first. Read naturally when you record the reference, in the same tone you will want back, because the clone learns your delivery, not just your sound. Then write for the voice, not for a human performer. Short to medium sentences, plain phrasing, and let the script carry meaning instead of relying on dramatic delivery the model cannot give you. Always listen back to the full generated audio before you publish, because it will occasionally mispronounce a name or a technical term, and a quick spelling tweak in the script usually fixes it. And decide your own ethics up front, before you are ever tempted by a shortcut, so the rule is already set in stone for the moment when it would be easiest to quietly bend it. And if you publish what you make, just be upfront that it is a clone if it ever comes up. You do not owe a disclaimer stamped on every single frame, but you do owe people an honest answer when they ask. And that one small habit is what keeps the whole thing clean and keeps you on the right side of the line you drew. So that is the honest story of the voice you have been listening to this whole time. It is a clone of mine, made from a few minutes of recording, and it lets me publish consistently in a way I simply could not if I had to record every line by hand. It is not magic, it has real limits, and the only reason I am comfortable using it is that it is my voice, with my consent, saying my words. That last part is not a technical detail, it is the whole point. The tools are only going to get better and easier, which means the habit of using them honestly matters more every year, not less. If you want more grounded, hands-on looks at building with AI like this, with the real trade-offs and the real lines, subscribe and follow along. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.